Hey loves, welcome and welcome back. Let's proceed with this tutorial. I'll start by drawing my horizontal line, that is my shoulder line where I'll be taking my vertical measurement. I'll place my tape at the top. I'll support it with my chalk. I'm going to mark my bust point 10 inches, my under bust which is 13 inches, my waist which is 15, and then my length which is 18. That length is going to act as my back's effect. Then I'll go to the other side. I'll mark the same thing, 10 inches for my bust point, 13 inches for my under bust, 15 for my waist, and that 18 for my bust point. For my backs, then I'm going to draw a straight line along those points I make and label them. I couldn't at first, I didn't label them, so I just went ahead to edit the titles on it. I want to urge you to kindly take note of everything I'll be doing after now. My shoulder measurement, which is 14, I'm going to be dividing by 2, which is 7. I'll remove half inch, which makes it 6.5. We are doing this because we won't be attaching any ends. We are only attaching just straps. On that point I just marked, I'm going to go down by 1 inch, which is going to act as my shoulder slope. Then on my neckline, I'm just going to mark a basic neckline measurement, which is 3 inches on as the length and 3 inches as the breadth. I'm just going to trace that out with my pencil. This is totally not necessary, but if just for your understanding, that's why I'm doing this. Then from there, I'm going to connect from my shoulder slope to my neckline like this. Right on my shoulder slope, I'll be taking my armhole measurement, which is 7 inches. I got this by dividing my bust measurement by 6 and adding my 1.5. Then I'm going to go over at that point and measure my shoulder measurement to see that it's on the right point, and then I'll connect them together like this. That point is now going to act as my chest line. I'll simply take my ruler and then mark that point, which is going to act as my chest line as labeled on the screen. After that, I'm going to take my tape to my neckline. I'm not going to be working with this 3 inches neck depth that we had originally. I'm going to be using 6.5 for mine. This is completely subjective. You can go up by more or go down by less. It's totally up to you. I'll bring my tape to my shoulder slope and I'll mark 1.5. This is going to act as my strap width. Okay, this is going to act as my strap width. Then I'll connect it down to meet my neck depth, just the way you see me doing on the screen. I'll take my ruler and then I'll connect those points like you see me do. Now I'm going to divide my armhole length by 2. Mine was 7 divided by 2 will give me 3.5, and then I'm just going to connect that to my chest line. But right before doing that, I'm going to take my bust measurement. My bust circumference divided by 2 will give me 8.2. I'll mark that on my chest line, and then I'm going to take my curve and connect to the middle point I made on my armhole length. Now I am highlighting my strap length and my strap width so that it can be clearer, okay, clearer for you to see. Then on that point that you saw me, I'm just going to go out by half inch, and then I'm going to connect it into my neck depth with my curve, just the way you see me do. I'm doing this because I want my neckline to have a curve towards the straps and not make it completely rectangular. When we were drafting our armhole curve, you notice that we didn't go in by our usual half inch. This is because we are not attaching any ends to it. We are using straps. Now I'm going to be working on my body. I'm going to take my nipple to nipple measurements. Mine was 7 divided by 2 will give me 3.5. I'm just going to mark that to my chest line. You notice that when we are taking our normal nipple to nipple measurement, we usually start on our bust point, but this we are taking it to our chest line, and then we are going to rule a straight line across. I'm not going to be using my marker. I'm going to be using a pencil, a biro for this. I'm using a biro because this isn't what you are going to be working with. I'm just putting this here for directive purpose. On the bottom, that is the part we labeled full length, I will go in by 1.5. You can choose to go in by 1 inch or you can choose to go in by 2 inches, but I'm using 1.5 for mine, and then I'll be connecting it to my nipple to nipple measurements that I have on my chest line like this. The line I just made with my marker is what we are going to be working with. The nipple to nipple measurement I originally measured, that's going to be invisible to us for now. On my waistline, I'm going to go out on both sides by 1.5 half of an inch, and then I'm going to connect to my chest line and then connect to my full length. I went ahead to highlight my dark leg with my marker to make it more clearer and visible for us to work with. Remember, we are ignoring the nipple to nipple measurement straight line we originally drew. We are going to be working with the new dark leg we just marked. So after that, I'm going to impute my horizontal measurement. On my chest line, I'll put my bust measurement. On my under bust line, I'm not going to be using that. I'll be ignoring my under bust for this particular drafting. Then on my waistline, I'll be putting my waist measurement. On my full length, this is completely, you don't have to put it, but I just put mine. I'll be replacing my dart measurement. On my waistline, I will add back the 1 inches I had. On my bust point, I will add back the half inch. Then on my chest line, I'll just put half inch on it. Now we connect those points we just made. The chest line to the bust point, the bust point to the waistline, and the waistline to my full length. Like I said before, you don't have to measure the full length. I was just doing over sabi. That was what actually happened. You see that point that I'm indicating with that arrow? That is going to be our center front. And then the dart leg we just made, that is going to be our first style line. You notice that we have 4 style lines in front. For my second style line, I'm going to be taking the measurements I have between my under bust line and my new dart line, and I'll be dividing it by 2, and then I'll just mark the point I have on my under bust line, just the way you see me doing. If you don't understand what I'm saying, I believe that what I'm doing is very detailed enough. On the line I labeled full length, close to my new dart line, I'm going to go out by 1 inch. You can choose to go out by 1.5, but I went out by 1 inch, and then I marked that point. I'm going to connect that point to my center under bust line and then to my neck depth that you see me touching. All right. Before you connect those points with a ruler, I want you to take note of something. If I place my ruler on my neck depth line and then I take the other end towards the 1 inch I went out by on my new dart line, I'm going to be ignoring my under bust line. And if I say, let me connect from my neck depth line to my under bust line, then to my full length line, it's going to have a weird shape. So what I'm going to do is to connect from my neck depth line straight to the line, to the 1 inch I went out by on my new dart line, like this. Now this is going to be our second style line. Right on my under bust line, that new style line I just made, I'm going to be going out by half inch on both sides. That's, we are creating a new dart line here now, and then I'm going to be connecting it to my neck depth line the way you see me doing on the screen. Now I'm going to be adding back my dart intake. On the waistline, I'm going to impute back my 1 inch that I have on my under bust line, and then I'm going to mark that point with my pencil, and then I'll come up on the chest line by half inch, and then I'll connect those points to my full length. This is what I do concerning adding back my allowance, because I want it to have shape. If I decide to put my 1 inch at my under bust line, it's going to look weird. So that's why I put my 1 inch on my waistline and then add half inch to my chest line. So after that, I'm going to connect with my curve. I'm going to connect my armhole curve to my chest line allowance, just the way you see me do, so that it will have shape. Our nipple to nipple measurement, that disappeared before that we ignored. We are not going to ignore it now. We are going to be recognizing it. From our nipple to nipple measurements, we are going to connect it to our waistline. This is what will act as our backs at the bottom. Now I'm going to just make a curve and highlight it with my marker, just the way you see me doing. After that, I'm going to cut. Just take note of how I'm cutting it. Note that I didn't add any sewing allowance to this. All I did was just to add back my dart intake. I'll be adding allowance when I'm cutting on my original fabric. This, my loves, is what I had when I was done. I know you didn't know that I folded the center front into two. When I measured the 1.5 I gave when I was measuring my new dart line, it was 3 when I spread it open. So this is what I had. Before now, I've already gone ahead to cut. I just used it to practice, so I just placed them together. This is what you are going to have. This is what it's going to look like. Okay, you see how beautiful that it's looking already. I'll be taking away these ones now because that is not what we are going to be working with. We are going to be working with these 3 pieces. So I'm going to label them center front for the center front, and then I'm going to label the other one the side front. So I'm going to label 1, 2, 3 so that I would know uh how my patterns are labeled and how they are facing. Now we are going to be drafting the back. The only difference is the allowance for the zipper we are going to be giving for the back, and then it's not going to have backs. We are just going to stop our measurements at our 15 inches waistline. For my zipper allowance, I gave 1.5 inches, and then on my shoulder line, I went to impute my measurement. And note that I said there is no backs, so we are stopping exactly on our waistline, which is 15 inches. Then after that, I just connected those points with my ruler, and I did exactly what I did on the front line. There is no difference. The only difference is the zip allowance, and there is no backs. I'm going to go out on my center front with my nipple to nipple measurement, which is 3.5, straight to my neckline, and then I'm going to connect those points together. I'll be labeling my lines, my chest line, my bust point, my under bust line, and my waistline. On the waistline, I'll be coming out by ½ inch on both sides, and then I'll connect to the neck depth that I have, like this. The part that I'm marking right now is the part that I'm going to be cutting out. After that, I'm going to impute my body measurement, my bust measurement, and my waist measurement. I'm not going to be working with the under bust measurement. So I will add back my dart intake, the inches on my dart intake, and then I will add ½ inch to the chest line and then connect to my armhole. After that, I'll connect those points I just made like this. On my neckline, I went down by ½ inch. This is to add a little bit of style, a slant style at the back, and then I'm going to connect it to my nipple to nipple measurement line I have on my back. After that, I'm just going to cut. If you are planning to have loops at the back, the zipper allowance is not necessary. All you have to do is measure your back directly and then without the zipper allowance and remove 2 inches or 1.5 inches. But for me, I just went ahead to remove 1.5 inches. I didn't work with the zip again. I'll place my pattern paper on my fabric because I want to be cutting them out now. I'll be adding my allowances before cutting. I'll add half inch to the up. I will add 1 inch to the side, and then the bottom I won't be adding any inches because the 18 inches that I marked is already inclusive of my allowance. I'll do the same thing for all of my fabrics and then I went ahead to cut them. Note that the allowance that you'll be adding at the side is determined by how big your boning is. I use a small boning, so I wouldn't need much allowance on the side. But if you are using the biggest size of boning, you will need at least 1 inch or 1 point something inch so that you won't have any problem when you are folding it in. So this is what I have when I was done. These are all my pieces and I can't wait to show you the sewing tutorial of this.